Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. We are very happy to have you here. We at Women's Federation at the UN office here in New York, we're so happy to welcome you here to this event, which we're proudly hosting as a side event to the United Nations High-Level Political Forum. I'm Shruti Lekha Rajayalanko. I will be your moderator for this event today, and I am so honored to be moderating this with a wonderful set of panelists, both here in person and online. So this event, I'm very honored to be here with you all. On that note, please allow me to welcome Mrs. Merle Barlan, our Director of UN Offices, New York.
Hello? Wow, it's such an inspiring afternoon. I want to start with my greetings. We have our distinguished guests joining us online and in person. My friends, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We are live streamed all over the world and from wherever you are. Greetings from New York on this rainy day. This morning I woke up, the sun was bright. It was New York City. It was really bright and beautiful this morning. And suddenly, about an hour ago, right, a storm came and raining cats and dogs. But to those of you who made it through the rain, thank you so much for making that commitment and determination. And they say that rain is a blessing. Do you agree? Yes, so I'd like to welcome all of you on behalf of the Women's Federation for World Peace International and the Office for UN Relations here in New York. I extend my gratitude and welcome. Thank you for joining us here at our side event, a hybrid side event at the High Level Political Forum 2023. And the title and topic of our discussion this afternoon is Integration and Impact of Digital Technology in Developing Countries in the Context of the Right to Development. And joining us with us this afternoon, we have wonderful friends and experts from the fields of the United Nations, from the government, and from the academe, the civil society, the business sector. And I'd like to thank Dr. Rio Santos. He's joining us from Micronesia region, the Office of the UNOPS. And we have Dr. Frank Kaufman from the 12 Gates Foundation. He is from the realm of the academe and the intellectuals. And we also have dear Priscilla Garces. She is actually an elected board member of Union County and also a climate advocate. And she's here with us. And we have a consultant from FinTech, Mr. Rodrigo, joining with us from Mexico. And a very inspiring young girl actually. She's only 15 and she already is coding stuff to save the world. And that's Arsha Datta. She is gonna speak with us later, joining us from India. And so this afternoon, our panel of experts will talk about many of the important topics to address, the problems that are plaguing the world today. The United Nations, according to the Secretary General Gutierrez, he said that the challenges of the world's problems are just, it starts with 3 C's. Can you guess what are those 3 C's? It's conflict, climate change, and COVID. Those are a perfect storm of challenges. But we as human beings have existed for more than 200,000 years. So no matter what, we will transcend whatever storm, whatever challenges, global climatic challenges we face, as long as we work together, as long as we have hope in us. So today, the roundtable panel of speakers will be addressing the Sustainable Development Goals number 11, Sustainable Communities and Cities, and SDG 17, Partnership for the Goals. And among the many of the inextricably linked goals. And so we will have a roundtable panel, maybe around 40 minutes, and we will talk about practical solutions and successful practices while encouraging collaboration and implementation of policies that support resilience and partnerships towards recovering from the pandemic. At the end of the event, we hope to inspire governments and civil society to contribute with the concrete actions that are easily applicable at many levels. And then we can forge partnerships, public and private sector partnership, to take this concrete action to build a sustainable world of peace and development. So also the roundtable panel will explore how we can address challenges that are faced by the developing countries in effectively utilizing digital technology to build sustainable cities and communities, and taking into consideration the ethical and moral high ground as our society becomes ever more dependent with technology and especially AI. And the big question is, can we ever achieve the balance in ensuring that AI reaches its full potential for goodness of humanity while preventing and mitigating all its destructive potentials? The United Nations Declaration on the Rights to Development is a whole new journey in search of the holy grail of humanity's development. There is always this hovering question on how can government and international organizations support developing countries in utilizing digital technology to address specific development challenges such as conflict, poverty, healthcare, education, and agricultural productivity in the context of the right to development. But for me, the answer is yet to be forged by all of us. Although formulas and attempts, and there are programs, the UN has been around for 77 years, there are programs and government programs out there, but we're still plagued with the challenge. And so every opportunity, every day is an opportunity for us to forge new challenges. The high-level debates at the UN last week and this week have been very welcoming of the digital revolution, which builds more on economic opportunities, bringing communities closer together. However, it is important to ensure that this process puts people at the center of the process. The development of communities and nations through the evolution of digital technology should prioritize the development of people, and put people at the center of the process and ensure a consultative process. Before any technological development could advance towards a constructive and sustainable trajectory, the prerequisite condition would be the holistic development of the human being and the creation of a positive and enabling environment with that basic unit of society, which is the family, to thrive and develop to its fullest potentials for development. The Women's Federation for World Peace International, for the past 31 years, have promoted a leadership paradigm centering on community development and women empowerment and family empowerment. That it is a vision-driven, family-centered, and community-oriented approach of development. The center of its capacity building of each member of the family is to be the woman, the development of the woman and that how the role of women can empower the family, the husband and the children. And through that dynamics of relationship, peace, we can forge a formula for peace and development within that basic institution and the basic unit of society. The second part of today's event is a call for collaboration, exhibition of SDGs success stories by the civil society. And I want to thank all the members. We have 10 members of the civil society who are here, who are willing to share their success stories. And I'd like to thank and welcome all of you. And I look forward to sharing and networking with you all today. And also, I want to recognize the Miss Immigrants that are here. We have from Guyana, we have from Poland, from Japan, and there is one from China. Boy, what a beautiful community we have. Immigration is at the forefront of our world's problem today. So we have a big topic today. And I'd like to close my statement with a quote from the co-founder of Women's Federation for World Peace. We call her the Mother of Peace, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon. She said, throughout history, women have been persecuted, but it is changing. Through women's maternal character, compassion, love, and sociability, the time is coming when the power of women will save the world. And so, having said that, I'd like to welcome you all and give my gratitude to all of you, and wishing you all and us all a very productive and hopeful conversation and forge a way to world of peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Merle, for that wonderful opening. I think it has set an understanding to what we're going to discuss today, what we're going to have today. And we really hope to have an active discussion. And to begin that, I would like to welcome very happily Dr. Ryer Santos. He is the Regional Project Manager of the United Nations Office for Project Services, UNOPS, for the first SDG Fund for Digital Transformation in Micronesia, Marshall Islands, Nauru, Palau, and Kiribati. So prior to his position, he has served as a senior UN coordination specialist of the International Telecommunication Union Asia Pacific Regional Office, where he also worked in advancing digital transformation and innovations in the region through stronger UN collaboration and partnership. On that note, I kindly welcome him online to share with us his views and open this round table under the topic Integration and Impact of Digital Technology in Developing Countries in the Context of the Right to Development.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. Kasilele from Federated State of Micronesia in Pohnpei, where I am currently based, addressing you. It is such a pleasure and a great privilege to be invited in this very important gathering, and especially when we discuss about the importance of digital transformation and how we can integrate and its impact in developing countries. As you may know, I am currently based in Micronesia, and I am currently implementing a joint SDG funds project with the aim to accelerate digital transformation and the achievement of sustainable development goals in small island developing states. If you will allow me, I would like to share my screen briefly just to show you a brief presentation about our project. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Wonderful.
Okay. The project that I am currently implementing is funded by the Joint SDG Fund. The Joint SDG Fund is a collaboration among all developing partners and developing countries that provides a pool of funds to support digital transformation and to accelerate SDG achievements in Micronesian countries. When we talk about digital transformation and to strengthen the community resilience in Micronesia, as we all know, Micronesian countries or islands in the small island developing states are now faced with various development challenges. And also they are suffering now from the effect of climate change. And in order for us to prevent that to happen, a resilient technology and a resilient community is needed to ensure that these islands, these rich islands and beautiful culture will survive the devastating effect of climate change. Just to give you a background, this joint program is implemented by 7 UN organizations, namely led by the International Telecommunication Union in Geneva, also with the technical assistance and expertise from FAO, ILO, UNESCO, UNICEF, UNOPS, and UNODC. The country coverage includes Federated States of Micronesia, Marshall Islands, Nauru, Palau, and Kiribati. The main purpose, we just launched our project last week, and this is very timely that we show that all development partners and all from the government, from the private sectors are working together to accelerate digital transformation in Micronesia. But what do we mean by digital transformation? Let me emphasize on when we talk about digital transformation, I would like to emphasize 2 things. One is the importance of a whole of government approach and a whole of society approach. When we talk about the whole of government approach, we emphasize that there's no one government office or institution that can carry out digital transformation alone. Meaning to say, if we would like a digital transformation to happen, it is very important that there is a sustained effort and a clear interoperable and cross-cutting initiative across all government sectors and all government offices to ensure that digital transformation and technology that we are introducing are actually felt and implemented across all government services. Meaning to say, we cannot create a siloed approach. Meaning, if you introduce digital ID system should serve its purpose to actually provide services to all government agencies. Meaning, if you would like to apply for passport, for example, government should not be asking you to provide several identification cards or proof that you are a real person, because these particular informations are already available in the government. Therefore, the government should be able to produce this information and identification to prove that you are a real person and a citizen of that country, so that services from the government can easily be implemented and provided to you. Meaning, the burden of proof and the burden for them to prove that you are a real person should not lie on the citizen itself, but rather from the government, because they already have the information, they already have the resources, and they already have the technology, and they should have the technology to make it happen. But in order for that to happen, a well-coordinated system and a well-coordinated policy and strategy should be implemented across government agencies. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Immigration, together with the Civil Registry, should be working together to ensure that the record is succinct, clear, and easily accessible across all government agencies. This is also true when it comes, if we introduce e-agriculture, e-governance. e-health and education, e-education across different e-services that we are providing or sectoral initiative that we are introducing to the government, to the people. But at the same time, in order for that to happen, the whole of society approach is very important. Meaning to say, in the creation of a digital strategy, a digital transformation strategy in any government, everyone should be involved in developing such strategy. Meaning, all of the society approach emphasize that the citizen, the business sector or the private sector, the public sector, and all sectors from the society are properly consulted and ensure that their voice and their opinion were properly represented in whichever digital policy we will be introducing. Because this is crucial in terms of ownership. This is crucial that we represent the needs and ensure that we tailor inclusive innovation technology that will allow the government to implement this solution and will fit for its purpose. And that is the aim of the project that we are implementing here in 5 countries in Micronesia. Basically, is to accelerate the adoption of digital transformation related enabling policies, meaning we need to have a comprehensive digital transformation strategy in each of the country, because this will serve as a mother document that will guide the government in implementing digital transformation reform. And several sectoral development policy will be based in this mother document that will guide the government, that will ensure that the government is following what is a target and commitment. And second, as a target of this particular project and joint program is to implement a smart island approach. Meaning to say, we hope to pilot in these 5 countries, in 5 villages and islands, where we can optimize and visibly show how digitalization can actually happen in a small island state. But we are confronted with different challenges and different gaps that we need to address. And I hope this is something that we will be discussing during the roundtable discussion and shared best practices on how we can actually address it. And I would like to open this roundtable discussion and emphasizing that all of us has a critical role to play in making digital transformation to happen. And not only the government, but also as a private sector in making sure, or a private individual, in making sure that the government is accountable, ensuring that they deliver their promises, and ensuring that we elect the right people in the right position so that they can implement the digital transformation that we all aiming for. And as we develop digital transformation and as we increase digitalization, we need to emphasize the importance of narrowing the digital divide. The integration of digital technology can further exacerbate existing inequalities, and not everyone has an equal access to that technology or the necessary digital skills for them to actually implement that or use that technology. It is very important for us to ensure that inclusive innovation and digital transformation are implemented. And with that note, I hope to ignite a more deeper discussion and allow us to exchange our thoughts and opinion on how we can collaborate and work together in making digital transformation a reality for everyone. Thank you and congratulations to this very important gathering today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santos. I think you highlighted a few of the most important aspects to development when it concerns to the involvement of digital technology in development. On that note, I would like to invite our panelists, like our member, our distinguished experts of the roundtable discussion, beginning with Dr. Frank Kaufmann, who is here with us. He's the editor-in-chief of the New World Encyclopedia, founder of the Values and Knowledge Foundation, and the president of 12 Gates Foundation. That's a lot. He works in religion and conflict resolution, preservation of scholarly integrity and purposes, and protection and defense of human rights and freedoms. He has worked in the conflict areas, including Israel, Palestine, Croatia, Eritrea, Ethiopia border issues, India, Kashmir, revolutionary centers in the Philippines, northern Sri Lanka, and much more as well. It would be wonderful to hear from you, your thoughts and perspectives with an introductory statement on this topic, including your expertise in peace and human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shruti. Thanks, Murli. I'm Frank Kaufmann, as you've just heard. I'm honored to be here today. I apologize for reading, but the organizers want me to speak 4 minutes, which is a very short period of time, and it's easy to lose track of time. So in order to do my job properly, I prepared my words for you today. Otherwise, I'd much more enjoy to be with you personally, not behind my papers. So I'm Frank Kaufmann. I'm honored to be here with you today among such distinguished individuals. I'd like to thank Murli Barlan and the Women's Federation for my invitation. And Murli has invested enormously to make this event happen. So we're really grateful to you. I'd like to thank the professor, the gentleman whom we just heard, Dr. Santos, and thank him for his commitment and hard work in his area of the world. I'm asked to speak for less than 4 minutes, both to introduce myself and to briefly offer thoughts in anticipation of today's topic, integration and impact of digital technology in developing countries in the context of the right to development. First, a couple of things about me. I grew up in the community of the United Nations Diplomatic Corps. I attended the United Nations International School. That school was built so that the UN community, who are constantly coming and going, their children can go to school and not lose a year and be left behind. And so I went to that school. I spent my entire life working in the area of religion and peace, and from that, I have expertise on the impact of spiritual and religious reality on social and political affairs. My skills from my work are that I'm capable of mediating conflict and bringing conflicting groups into reconciliation and collaboration. Those are some of the skills from my work. The thing about my work that's relevant to today's meeting is that I am an expert consultant to Pew Research Center and Elon University's projects Imagining the Internet, the Future of Digital Life, and Metaverse 2040. Okay, so here are a few initial thoughts on today's topic. The United Nations was originally founded to prevent war, but expanded its mission beyond that in the intervening years. People get involved with the United Nations, hoping it can impact the fact that things are not as they should be. That's why people associate themselves with the United Nations. They want to change the fact that things are not as they should be. In 1986, December 4th, the UN adopted the right to development, which is what we're discussing today. That means that this work has been going on for 36 years, older than almost everybody in the room. Since 2010, the United Nations spends about $5 billion a year. Since the middle of the Obama administration, the United Nations has spent about $65 billion. So a million is 1,000 thousands. A billion is 1,000 millions. 1,000 millions is 1 billion. Since the middle of the Obama administration, we've spent 65,000 millions. And so, how has progress been on development? According to the World Bank, approximately 1/4 of the world's population live in poverty. 1/4. 2 billion human beings live in poverty, less than $5 a day, like $1 a day, $1.90 a day. Poverty rates decrease, that's the goal of the right to development, between 0.1% and tops 8% a year. The data seems to suggest that we are struggling in this area for which we are gathered here today. Why are we struggling? What's the problem? Is it because, will digital technology help? Is that the answer? After 36 years, billions of people, 1/4 of the world's population, suffer in abject poverty. Is this because we didn't have the right technology? Is that the problem? Let's take a look at countries that the UN doesn't help regarding the right to development. Let's just pick a random country that doesn't need the help of the UN and doesn't need to benefit from the resolution, the right to development. How about the United States, for example? Let's take the United States. Is digital technology helping the United States? Some, but it's an open question. Don't you think it's an open question? Certainly digital technology is making insanely wealthy people even more wealthy. With every breath they take, they're making literally billions of dollars. So one thing digital technology is doing in America is making insanely people even more wealthy. Besides making wealthy people wealthier, it's creating state and corporate illegal surveillance on American citizens. Across the board. Click on a keyboard, buy a pair of shoes, watch your email. So digital technology helps in some things, but it's a concern for others. One thing digital technology does, in addition to creating an unaccountable class of power elite infringing on citizens, is creating a pandemic of what is called tech addiction and digital addiction. Nicholas Carteros of Stony Brook Rehab, after working with thousands of teens for more than 15 years, says that it is easier to treat heroin and crystal meth addiction than it is to treat video gamers and Facebook-dependent social media addicts. Kimberly Young states that 18% of college-age internet users in the United States suffer from tech addiction. Refereed critical studies show that children addicted to the internet demonstrate severe psychopathology, poor psychosocial functioning. Long-term addiction can induce decreased gray matter volume in certain areas of the brain. Suicide rates among young people in the United States have risen to become a leading cause of death. Not cancer, not car accidents, suicide. Murder rates have surged by 46% in the last 10 years in the United States. Sexual abuse of minors is leading to severe chronic mental health issues. Depression, anxiety, PTSD have skyrocketed. Of course, this is not all from digital technology, but it cannot be denied that the United States is saturated with digital technology. That's a fact. Will the power elite not use digital technology to exploit and abuse citizens in developing countries. We'll reserve that behavior just for people in developed countries. Will they be extra careful not to addict people in developing countries? No one would ever exploit a developing country, would they? We're far too nice for that. We care. We're here to help. Please understand as I conclude, it's not my intention to dishearten us. What I offer my reflections so that we may think carefully together when looking for hope and solutions to help our beloved brothers and sisters be free and prosper. Digital technology, we know, is an absolute boon to everything we try to do. If we're in medicine, it improves. If we're concerned with the environment, it improves. Even you young ladies who are beauty stars, your beauty, the digital technology can help your beauty studies as well. Everything is made benefit by digital technology. That's not the question. But to imagine that suddenly now we have the means by which to finally address the issue of development and the disparity that Dr. Santos talked about between rich and poor. There's no signs that digital technology is doing that. It can, but there's something more we need to look at more closely. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Kaufman. Merle and I, we were having a discussion late night yesterday, thinking of how digital technology should be a tool rather than actually an agent of competition. So thank you so much, Dr. Kaufman, for that. And now, please allow me to invite a very, very special guest with us here, Miss Priscilla Garces. She is a trained climate reality leader, mentor, and a disability advocate. She completed her education with honors, earning a bachelor's degree in diplomacy and international relations, a minor in Latin American studies and Spanish from Seton Hall University, a professional certificate of bilingual translation from NYU, and later a master's degree in nonprofit leadership or development from Fordham University. She is a founding cabinet committee member of Emerge New Jersey, collaborating with other members in efforts to expand access to their signature training program. What a wonderful woman I have next to me. Thank you so much for being here. Please, the stage is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody is having a good day, even though it's raining, but sometimes we definitely need that rain after this heat wave that has been happening. But it is an honor to stand here and speak to all of you. And I want to first start off by thanking all of you for being here. I want to thank Shruti, the moderator, for introducing me. This was a great introduction. All of the panelists and all of the speakers, Rachel from WFWP, I want to thank her as well. And thank all of you. Thank you for this opportunity for me to participate. And without any further ado, I would like to start off by speaking from a different perspective of how digital technology can really help us in the development of communities, of cities, of different countries, even climate change. As it has been mentioned, I am a disability advocate and climate activist, and I belong in different committees, including the recent one being the Union County Committee, which I have just been elected a couple weeks ago. And now, I would like to talk about the importance of digital technology from the perspective of at-risk groups. At-risk groups include people with disabilities, women, the elderly, children, and all others that often suffer from disparities when it comes to access to opportunities, education, and other sustainable development goals. And as a person with a disability, digital technology has been a very integral part in my life because it increases efficiency, it increases the time spent that I would otherwise have to do research, to access all of the educational materials and information needed for me to accomplish many of the different tasks. Now, I didn't grow up with a cell phone because I started when I was an adult using the cell phone. But the cell phone that I use has a screen reader called VoiceOver. And this screen reader helps me read all of the information so that this way I can be in the same level and play field so that I can access all of the information that is needed. And digital technology has an advantage because it enhances accessibility to information. And now everything is evolving. The UN is evolving because we face additional challenges in addressing the disparities and bridging certain gaps. And recently, as I was preparing for this, I was reading a report concerning the gaps that still exist in digital technology. And it's that at-risk groups have significantly less access to digital technology. And because of the COVID-19 pandemic has really highlighted the importance of the use of digital technology, the virtual conferences that we have. How do we use technology for virtual conferences? Before, we used to meet in person, and we still do meet in person, but virtually, it enhances the productivity. So it is an advantage because it increases efficiency. It increases access to groups that otherwise don't have the necessary access, especially those with disabilities like myself, and those who have other conditions where if meeting in person, only in person, can otherwise be difficult because of different barriers like transportation and access to other areas in their communities, and also employment. And I just wanna say that the Sustainable Development Goals, we have to strive for smarter communities through making sure that people have the capacity to know more about the digital technology and how it could be used. And as some of the points that have been discussed by both Dr. Ryer Santos and Dr. Kaufman, you both bring up an interesting discussion and an interesting point of view when it comes to the different technology and how sometimes it is creating mental health problems in certain populations because of the addiction, as it was mentioned. But there is hope because digital technology can create and enhance the playing field, especially when it comes to the recent development of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, AI, could simulate the behaviors that we could do with the data that we already have, which can increase the productivity that we have, because when you do research, you would have to go to the internet on your computer and do that research. But with the AI, it'll take a fraction of a second to find that information and increase the productivity when it comes to doing your work. So from the perspective of a person and of people who have disabilities and other conditions, and also at-risk groups, it can produce it is an advantage. And in developing countries, the internet, there are disparities with access to internet. And I just want to mention that I met this one. His name is Vince Serve. When I was at one of the fireside chats, and he was talking about a balloon with internet that you could put and it'll fly up, and that could allow people all over the world to have more access to internet. And this area is very complex because all the governments, sometimes they have different policies, and that is something that we still have to find a solution to try to develop a system where we could have more smarter cities, more smarter communities, and incorporate the interconnected digital devices that could help increase the access to the information that is vital information that is needed, like to manage the areas that we have to manage in terms of digital technology. So those are my initial thoughts, and the initial thoughts that I have is digital technology could be an advantage in creating a more inclusive and accessible world if we have better policies that can address the different challenges when it comes to the security of the digital technology, and most importantly, the literacy of people using the technology. Digital literacy is very important. So that is something that should be addressed. And I would like to say that everyone deserves to have an equal access to services and resources using the technology necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Garces. I think it was a wonderful view of the reality of the digital technology as well. It's the other side of digital technology which has brought us closer. We have many from around the world with us today, able to hear us and see us and take part with us because of digital technology. Now, please allow me to welcome Mr. Rodrigo Tello, who is a fintech consultant who champions access to credits and cashless systems for the next billion people in emerging markets worldwide. His experiences focus on the Latin American region where the connectivity barriers are high, but also where public safety is a concern. By fostering a cashless environment, users not only are prone to save more, but also to eliminate the risk of cash assets stolen. So he holds a bachelor's degree in international business administration from Texas, and also a postgraduate diploma in digital marketing from Columbia University. I'm very happy to hear from Mr. Tello, who's joining us online.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Can you hear me now? Yes. Thank you very much for your kind words. I'm joining from Mexico City. My focus is on the Latin American market, specifically my country, Mexico, where there is still a very high economic inequality, where we're the 15th largest economy in the world. However, we fall behind to number 55 in digital inclusion. And if you get those numbers and think that only 37% of adults have received a digital payment. Well, there's a big disparity in how money is still being used. As you mentioned, there's a way to pay whatever amount of money via a QR code on a phone. And although we have that in place in Mexico, there is still a great number of adult population who is underbanked or not banked at all. Digital inclusion not only allows us to learn and communicate and entertain ourselves, we've learned that digital inclusion also helps us with agricultural productivity. We've recently learned, unfortunately in a way, about e-medicine and how we can get medical consultations via the phone. And there are even devices that hook up to the phone and send information to the caregiver or the health professional in regards of blood sugar levels, blood pressure, and all sorts of biometric data for health givers. However, there's this big component of having money somehow in the phone or in that environment and making and receiving payments. And the thing is that that's of course a two-sided weapon there, because in one hand we're giving people access to a savings account, and it's very difficult for individuals, even more so in lower income tiers, to save if they only have cash, because cash can be spent more easily. It can unfortunately be stolen. In some cases, we see people that have hidden a certain amount of money somewhere, and humidity or insects eat up their savings literally, because it was not very well packed or stored. So by having money somewhere in this cloud, which is not a real cloud, it's someone else's computer, people can have their savings stored safely, and they can manage budgets somewhat better. However, the other side of that sword is commissions, is that someone is making money out of it, unfortunately, and that whenever there's a commission involved, if I pay with a $5 note, that $5 note will always be a $5 note. Whereas if I make a transfer, the person receiving most likely will receive probably $4.90, and that money goes diluting throughout the process until it tends to be zero. Fintech helps us send and receive money across borders, helps us save, helps us access credits or loans for diverse needs, such as equipment for a farm or medicine, or equipment or goods for a store. But it carries, or it brings, the threats of what the credit entails, interest rates, and perhaps not being able to pay back those credits, which is always something we have to take into consideration in developing communities because of lack of financial education, right? In the sense of communications, Mexico is still lagging behind. We have about 23,000 towns without internet, and we are connecting about 6,000 per year. So that's only 9% of the towns per year. So that's going to take us almost 11 years to connect every one of those. And but there are documents and goodwill in place. So hopefully we can speed up that fairly quickly. Again, I'd like to thank the opportunity for being here to talk about this, and look forward to the rest of the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Tello. I think fintech is one of the greatest ways for developing countries to actually integrate more of a financial involvement in their even micro level financial involvement and movement in their development processes. What I would love to hear from our experts here on what you think is the problem with involving more digital technology into the system of governance, especially considering the fact that many of you touched on inequality, poverty, and everything. How can we use digital technology in a very few points from your experience? How can we use digital technology through a human rights perspective? How can we bring it, make sure it's safer, it's inclusive for developing countries to work more on it, to invest more on it, to integrate it more in their development process? Who'd like to start? Dr. Kaufmann, would you like to start?
I hope I'm not a pessimist, but I'm of the opinion that wealth and power are addictive, and when people are involved in those things, they seek it ever more. It's never enough. And the great attractiveness of convenience and the ease of the types of things you're describing, they are truly beautiful on their face. They're truly beautiful on their face. God knows every one of us would like to just walk through life and have our taxes managed and never have to hunt around for a receipt. You know, it's just, life's a burden in that respect. The problem is that those with that much power over your data eventually can find you a problem for some reason or another. Maybe you don't throw out your plastic cups often mayugh. Maybe the plastic cups are registered as they go through the proper hole in your home, et cetera, et cetera. And then maybe you shouldn't really have the freedom or power to be consuming that many things encased in plastic. So it's a balance between convenience and productivity, as our sister Priscilla mentioned. There's nothing but benefit from digital technology. The problem is the lack of systems that address the propensity of people to seek more power and more control over other human beings. So everything that's developed, a deep concern of mine is the protection of the individual and their liberty. This is a concern of mine. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I think that's a wonderful response. Maybe it would be wonderful to hear from Ms. Garces on what you think about your experiences. I'm sure you would have had encounters where you had to put people and say, listen, these are people in situations who need to be heard. How do you think we can make the marginalized groups heard in these processes?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I would like to speak in terms of the groups. Now, we are in an era that we are in the age where we have the Internet of Things. If everybody knows, most of us own voice-activated devices, like the Amazon Echo or the Google Assistant or other voice-activated devices. And Siri too. And it's interesting because I could ask, I could say, Siri, can you help me create a meeting, and it'll do it for you. While before, when we didn't have Siri and all these other voice-activated devices, we had to go and actually tap on the phone and create those meetings. And this is especially helpful for people who have accessibility barriers, especially the disability community, and other groups that cannot easily use a phone because of other conditions. And now the problem that we encounter with these products is like one of the panelists addressed, which is the balance between privacy and security. And when you have the smart devices like the Amazon Alexa or Siri or the Google Assistant or all other voice-activated devices, no matter what program you have, there's a microphone. And if it is continued to be on, it'll listen to everything that is recorded, and you can even look at it on the app itself, and it'll record the voice in the question that you ask. So, there is a balance between the security and privacy, and sometimes it is very complex to develop, different policies that could address that area. But I think that there should be a better solution to cater those policies that could allow that balance between privacy and security for the access to technology, but at the same time provide a area in where people who have different conditions can access the resources in a much more efficient manner. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think what you highlighted is focusing on the efficiency and how we just need to frame digital technology into development process according to our needs and not according to a power control. I would like to welcome once again Mr. Tello to just in a minute or two give us a quick remark on how you think we have the role of the government in this. I'm sure even in your experiences with fintech, you have to work a lot with the government. I mean, that's a huge process. So how do you think the role of the government or other entities and organizations are crucial in this part of integrating digital technology into development processes? And with your concluding statement, we will move to Arshadatta, who is our young prodigy here, to hear from her. Yes.
Sure, thank you very much. Well, specifically, not only for fintech, but for digital inclusion, the role of the government and other organizations is vital in a country of 2 million square kilometers, with hills and valleys and jungles and deserts. Mexico represents quite a challenge to set up a cellular network where we can connect everyone. So the government is perhaps the only one who can really take on that challenge. And despite having very good intentions, as I mentioned, out of 62 or 63,000 towns without internet, they're only catering for 5,900, 5,900 per year. However, there is good cooperation between the government, UN through UNOPS, and of course the OECD, the World Bank, and the IMF have also, in a certain way, either chipped in, oversaw, or helped in some extension to the digitalization of the country, which is great, but we're still falling short. And my main concern is the device itself, the cell phone. 98% of people in Mexico connect through a cell phone, and these are still expensive, very hard to repair if it's possible, and if stolen, they can be reused. I would really like for the government to set mechanisms in place where if a cell phone is stolen, it cannot work whatsoever. The technology is there. It's already there. It's reliable, almost free. And if we have the government working in that regards, we can end cellular phone theft pretty quickly, which can allow people to keep their phones, feel safe, especially women, at least in this country. And I think those are my main concerns and calls for action for the Mexican government to speed up connection in the towns that need it the most, and set up mechanisms in place for to prevent mobile phone theft. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your hearing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Tello. And on that note, I think maybe before we go to our young expert here, who we have something to take a huge inspiration from, I would like to open the floor for discussions and questions, so we can then take our concluding statement with an inspiration from Arsha at the end. So to begin with that, we have our director here of our UN offices, Merle, would like to have a question. So yes, please.
Is this on? Okay, thank you. Actually, my question is for Dr. Rio Santos. Is he still here? Online, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm still here. Thank you.
So there is this saying that there is no such thing as a monopoly of good ideas. And in terms of technological innovation, it has created inequality, making people, those innovators, more rich and wealthier. And so while in your line of work, you're still in the process of creating smarter cities in Micronesian region, and comparing to what the Western world, the developed world, we could already see the potential. So in the processes of what you are doing, are there policies in place? What are the policies that are in place to mitigate what could be the future of not finding the balance, or the protection and mitigation, so that not just in terms of monopoly, but really in protecting the communities and the families to the harmful effects of destructive technology?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. And there's so many questions there, I don't know where to start. But well, let me focus on policies are public policy are ever evolving. Public policy should best represent the current demand and the current reality that that fit the purpose of what it intends to deliver. And there are some good practices that has been already being implemented, and I think we need to further revitalize. I think, I think it's a common knowledge that digitalization are also creating digital divide, and the role and there's a critical role that the government needs to play in terms of making sure that we equal and we balance the playing field for everyone. And for example, the universal service obligations, or what we call also as universal service funds. These are important funds that has been allocated to the government when they are actually monitoring and providing rates and tariff for spectrum management and telecommunication. Meaning to say, government regulate telcos, okay? And part of that regulation is that they collect percentage of that income and put it in the universal service funds or universal service obligations. The purpose of that fund is to really make sure that those places who were not viable for business is where government should invest more. Meaning to say, that part of the funds that they're supposed to use is to build more infrastructure and ICT infrastructure so that everyone will be connected. And this is very crucial because not all businesses will invest in a population or an area that are very far when there is now enough business opportunity, or will allow them to get more businesses and return for their investment. That is why that particular fund is used so that government can intervene and make sure that the government invests on areas that are not viable for businesses. So in that way, we are ensuring that last mile connectivity is possible for those areas who are disconnected and cannot be reached by technology or internet connectivity. Universal service obligation or universal service funds are not, I hope, will be strengthened further. And the role of public sector and private sector is to make sure that the government are actually implementing that universal service obligations and funds. Where are they using those funds? Where are those funds now? And we keep on saying that there's no infrastructure, there is no investment. Investments are there. It's just a matter of making sure that the government spent it properly. And when there is a gap in terms of investment, that is where private and public properties, public and private partnership should enter into. Meaning to say, when there is a lack of funding in terms of investment and to infrastructure, then public-private investment should come in and development partners will come in. But however, in order for us to understand that, we need to make sure that the universal service funds or the universal service obligations are being utilized and properly used for that particular purpose. And public policy is very important on that. Like I emphasized earlier, it's very important that the whole of government and whole of society approach are being informed. Most of the time, regulators or ICT regulators are independent, but who monitors the regulators? So it is a question whether of transparency and accountability. Like in any technology, if you develop a technology, it should be clear who will be responsible if this technology create problems, such as data breach in Facebook. Who will be responsible for that? Data breaches in every several social media that are actually happening right now. And when it comes to accountability and transparency, public sector and the government needs to enforce its rules and policies and ensure that data privacy is at the highest standard, making sure that even government should not be able to use and weaponize this data to prevent a citizen to actively participate in a proper democratic process. And this is very important that all of us as part of the civil society, all of us in the private sector, and as a taxpayer, ensure that the government uphold these very fundamental rights of individual for privacy and to ensure that they properly implement and perform and be part of the proper democratic process. Furthermore, we are now being reliant as well on artificial intelligence, you know. And these artificial intelligence are also susceptible to biases, you know, because these data that are collected and being used by AI are normally coming from a human data that we're actually putting in the system. And that biases, if not properly addressed, can be institutionalized. You know, for example, there are some AI intelligence that collects facial recognition technology. You know, that facial recognition are being collected, and who knows where they are using it. And that biases could include, for example, if the data shows that you have more, there are more black, you know, there are more black who are criminals, etc. As the data shows, that bias can also be integrated in that particular technology. So, how do we address it? All of these challenges and gaps that we are experiencing, a multi-stakeholder participation and ensuring that everyone has a say in whichever technology we are using is very important. And creating that platform for all of us, civil society and private sector, to be actively engaged in policy development and policy monitoring will ensure transparency and accountability to whichever digital technology we are introducing in the country. And that, I conclude my reaction. Thank you very much, and good morning from here in Micronesia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Santos, for that wonderful remarks. I think this has given a very wonderful conclusion as well to our roundtable discussion. Now that we note that we are still running late according to our schedule, maybe any quick questions from the floor for the panelists here? Any quick questions? Yes, we have Ms. Marie Rose Shikari.
Okay. Yes, my name is Marie Rose Shikari. I'm a founder, CEO of the African Women Council Incorporated, and we are based here in the state of Maryland, USA. We are a non-profit organization, national and international organization. I would like to thank Dr. Remy, who invited me to participate at this great event and discussion. Our organization has been working hard, advocate for the Democratic Republic of Congo, for women and children, lead to the economic development. And because of that, we have been recognized by the states, Congress, and my state of Maryland, including the Senate. And also I was recognized by the International Human Rights Commission and the Federation of, and the Peace Federation. So everything you have been discussing, I think is very important because we have done a good work by working with the private sector in Congo and also with people, with our diaspora here in the state of Maryland. And we have been also working with the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and which the Democratic Republic of Congo government has helped the private sector in the eastern part of the Congo to develop that province. And AWC is here to to advocate for that digital technology, because the government has already donated to the private sector 20,000 acres of land, and also which need to be developed in sustainable development goal, and which need infrastructure, it need healthcare, it need housing, it need other technology, which people are talking about, like the mineral and everything. We have it here, including the decree from the ministerial government, which have already give to this private sector of Congo, and which is need also to partner with the outside, with the United States and any goodwill. We are here to promote this development so we can be able to alleviate the suffering of women and children in the Congo. So what can we do in order to get these people, the company or other goodwill who can work with us to promote this digital technology in that province, especially that 20,000 acre of land which the government has provided to the private sector. And also we can work on the social services in the Congo. I would like to see if we can get help from you, Miss, and from all the panelists who can help us for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great work. I think Dr. Ria Santos actually answered to your question on how private sector and governments can actually instrumentalize human rights and prioritize government policies which protect the privacy as well, which focuses on efficiency as well, and the needs of the people in the situation. But any other panelists would like to add anything quickly? But before that, do we have any other questions? Okay, seeing none, maybe we can have a quick one or two line statement from our panelists here, at least in person, would like to conclude and maybe also answer to our participants' question.
I'm afraid I don't have any special insights to the question asked. I'm very grateful to all of you for being here. I'm proud of you. I wish each one of you a bright future. I pray that you will continue to be committed to some form of good unique to you. We have no choice but to do that. Swimming in the torrential advance of digital technology, of AI, it is irreversible now. So I would ask or urge that each of you find your unique humanity that is inconquerable as you continue to seek the good you do and continue to be the author or the user of the technology, never the object of the technology. Retain your authority and continue, if you can, to be committed to being good and doing some good unique to yourself. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we better learn what all our actions have for reactions. We need to be aware of it. So thank you so much for that. And Ms. Garces. So.
I like to stand up. Yeah, I project better when I stand up. Anyway, well, I would like to give some insight about this whole interesting discussion when it comes to the technology and the digital technology and the role of the integration into the sustainable development goals and cities and communities. Well, there is a balance. There needs to be a balance between digital technology controlling people and also digital technology being a tool. I think that digital technology is a tool. It is an element that facilitates, and I repeat this again, it facilitates the accessibility of resources and data so that all of us can have an access to information that we need based on the needs that we have. And now, technology, people think that it's perfect, but there is no such thing as perfect when it comes to technology, because ultimately, we are the ones who have the capacity to create the technology, because we have the brains and we have the capacity to direct that creation and that development of software, because computers depend on software to direct the behavior of the technology that we use. And as users, we have to be aware and mindful that, especially the developers, have to be mindful and putting universal accessibility into when it comes to including different users of different demographic groups in the use of digital technology so that they are not left out. And this applies to governments, countries, cities, and everywhere in between throughout the world, and even the area of climate change too, because digital technology can also help in early warning systems to help people have an advance notice when it comes to natural disasters. And that is also another important thing that I would like to highlight too. So let's collaborate together in creating that balance when it comes to access to digital technology, and mostly using it as an element to facilitate that access for all groups, regardless of ability. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very inspirational end statement. And on that note, I give the floor to Arsha Datta, who's joining us from India. And with her inspirational work she's done with coding and as an engineer, I would say she's an engineer already. She doesn't need a degree to be called an engineer because she's building something already. And to hear from her, and once we hear from her, we will conclude this discussion and move into our SDJ exhibits and for some refreshments. Yes, Arsha Datta, please.
I hope my screen is visible and I'm audible.
Yes,
So,
maybe.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening to everyone present here. I'm Arsha Datta, currently a student in class 10 in India. I have been interested in developing solutions through resources available to me online ever since I was made aware of some of the issues we face in our daily lives. And I'm happy to talk about some of the applications I have actually made prototypes of based on those ideas. And additionally, thank you for organizing this event and spreading more ideas on such topics. It is truly an honor. So, as visible here, I have made a prototype of an app called Fashionshious, which will be able to recycle clothing sustainably and reduce the overall carbon footprint produced by the fashion industry. This app will aim to reuse as much clothing as it possibly can by helping people give away clothing they may no longer wear or use for a better cause. Another application whose prototype is still a work in progress, but I have worked on, is a community resource conservation app. And as the name suggests, it will help reduce the resources we didn't know we use too much of sometimes. This includes electricity, water, and more that can help reduce bills and also conserve resources for future usage. So, talking in detail about Fashionshious, my app, this focuses on resolving or reducing the overall waste produced by the fashion industry. This app originated from ideas based on SDGs 11 and 12, which is supporting sustainable cities and communities and responsible consumption and production. With the rise of fast fashion in the current day and age, it is a concern that raises quite a few eyebrows. Now, the app will work in such a way that customers will be able to sell or give their clothing to the app, and it will either be reused to create something new or be donated to partner charities or organizations. Additionally, anything that is made with those reused articles of clothing or fashion will be put up on sale at affordable prices. There's also a demo here, a video on how selling the clothing items will work. So you can either sign up or log in here first. There'll be three options that show up, which will be either for selling items, buying items, or seeing what the app is about. Here, if you click on the big plus button here, you can specify a few details of yours and about the item, if it's damaged or not, so that it can be used wisely after that. We have about not too many options, but a few that will fit into some categories. You can also upload images of your items here. So for example, let's say we want to give away pants. Here, we get this page and then it will take us to finishing the order after this. Then talking in detail about the Community Resource Conservation app, it is still an idea that is being worked upon, but it aims to help people keep track of the resources they're using. It shows how much of it they should be using by setting common goals and how much of it they are actually using. This app originated from ideas based on SDG 11, which is supporting sustainable cities and communities. This will hopefully be in cooperation with local governing bodies to increase the amount of goals achieved overall by communities. Like, for example, in India, we have municipalities. So if this app ever does get implemented here, it will be in cooperation with them so that more goals are achieved overall as a community. Thank you so much for listening to these ideas, and hopefully they will soon become working applications for a better future. I am looking forward to releasing the first versions of these apps in the near future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful. I am so proud. At the same time, I'm so amazed how this was even possible by such young minds. And so thank you so much from my behalf. And now I would like to invite Mrs. Merle Barlan again for our very kind concluding remark.
Thank you, Shruti. And yes, I want to thank everyone, our speakers, Dr. Kaufman, Dr. Santos, Mr. Tello from Mexico, and Priscilla, my new friend. And to everyone here and to those who are online, you want to thank you for your time. And for everyone here. Just before officially closing this discussion, we had very enriching, enlightening discussion, and bringing the realm of the policies, the expectations of people at the UN level down to the community level. We had the experts here, and I particularly like Dr. Rier's presentation because as someone who's passionate about community development, my heart is really, and my mind goes into the dynamics of how a community can be developed. I've been with the UN community, the NGO community, for the last 25 years, and 10 of those years, I went to the community in Philippines and studied and created the formula how a community can be developed a framework for development from the bottom up using the United Nations framework for development. And I saw a lot of the things that I learned from the presentation of Dr. Rear, and especially creating smart cities in the island nations. We have learned from America and the Western world the trajectory, the destruction, of how when there is imbalance in power, money, and technology. But we have a new future for the island nations. And there was a question about how to develop there was a donation, a piece of land, 20 hectares of land to be developed, and you're looking for ideas and how to do that. First of all, I think the critical issue is the vision, cohesive vision, a family-centered, community-oriented, and really work in unity with the stakeholders in the community, and then educate young people and the women, young people and their families to take ownership of that vision. And then it has to be inherited. They have to work on it and in unity, because it will unleash inspiration and creativity in the young people. And when the young people are excited, they will take ownership. And young people, when you infuse them with big ideas like Arsha, they are altruistic. They're naturally altruistic. And when we, as in the older generation and the governments on the international level, provide them a platform, an enabling platform and guidance, how to move forward to the future, create a beautiful future together, and then there is a beautiful world of peace and safer communities, sustainable communities with technology and AIs. AI is only a tool. We will never be intimidated by the grandeur of the mighty AI. We control AI. And when our creativity and when our hearts and minds are clear of our purpose, who we are, our values, and the direction of the humanity, I think our young people in the future can move towards an establishment of a happy and a peaceful world together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Merle. Thank you so much for the wonderful conclusion. Now, I thank you all again, and please serve yourself, help yourself with our refreshments on the other end of the room. Also, we have this wonderful exhibition here with many of us who are here who've done so many things. I think we're just going to exchange a lot of our work with each other. Please feel free to just network, learn from each other. And also, we hope that this opportunity here, this place here, could be a place where you can find your partners, collaborate with, and broaden your work. And we really hope it helps us all through this process. And thank you so much. And thank you so much for all the participants who have joined us online. Means a lot that you have stayed with us despite the various different time zones you are in. It means a lot. Thank you so much. And our colleague will take you through as well, our online audience as well, once through the exhibition. It won't be as much as detailed, as much as experience you would have in person, but obviously we don't want you to miss it out. So also for our online participants, we just quickly like to show you, for those of you who would like to stay on Zoom. But otherwise, thank you so much, and thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much.